Ehi chef, come stai? Tutto bene? Oggi facciamo una lasagna di carne. That means, hi chef, how you doing? And we're going to be making a fantastic lasagna bolognese. Today we're going to do the meat lasagna. Now generally when you're making a lasagna dough, the amount of eggs which we use comparatively to that we use in a ravioli dough is much less. We're actually making an egg dough. We put almost like 16 egg yolks to 1 kilo of flour. We like to use a nice 00 flour. I'm using a local lovely strong high gluten flour for my pasta today. So first I have about 400 grams. I don't need that much, but normally I like to make a little extra dough. So I'm using say about 350 at this, okay. Now we made a nice well over here. We're going to be adding about 5 to 7 grams of salt in our recipe here, okay. 5 grams to be precise. And then we're going to be using eggs and egg yolks. So for this, I'm going to be adding 2, 3, and I'm going to be using 4 eggs. So I've got the whole eggs in this recipe. Brilliant. So literally just scramble the egg actually, literally. So we are just ideas that we are slowly bringing all this together in the front. The moment it all comes together, we start using our hands and we make a nice smooth dough. Now I'm trying my best not to use water in my dough. You know, there's this whole thing that you have to use water, but literally only when you actually need it, I put a little bit of water into it and I add a little bit of oil. So great. So let's start putting this together now. So to about 350 grams of flour, I've got almost like 4 eggs. Now I'm going to put this together to see how it's looking. But you know what? I might need to add maybe 1 more egg into this, but not yet. Okay. So we're going to put this together. So a lasagna dough is not a really soft dough. Okay. It is like a smooth dough, but it is slightly hard if you are extruding it through a machine. I'm not using my machine today because I want you all to know how to actually roll your dough using a rolling pin, okay? So I think looks like we're going to need a little more liquid to this. So I'm going to be getting a little bit of water, just a little bit, not too much, or maybe I can just add another egg to it. Brilliant. So about a teaspoon and a half of oil in here before I start rolling this again. So now we have to just get the dough together. We're going to start creating the gluten now in this. Okay. Beautiful. And all you need to do is stretch and pull. Turn it around, stretch and pull. So our dough is ready. As you can see, it's a really nice, smooth, beautiful dough. Okay. Now remember, once it is a little hard now, But as you know, once the dough rests, it's going to get a little soft, okay? It's going to be a fantastic dough and it's going to be a great lasagna. So now, normally with the lasagna, we like to make a really nice rustic meat sauce. I'm going to be using lamb today. So literally it is a lamb bolognese. Bolognese means from Bologna, which is in the north of Italy. A lot of great pastas come from there. Okay, the bolognese sauce is originally made with 3 kinds of meat: pork, beef and veal. But I'm going to be using a nice lamb one here, a beautiful ragu. And now I'm going to put this away, let it rest in the fridge for about half an hour until we start making our ragu. So we're going to start off with our bolognese sauce. For that, I've got all my ingredients perfectly cut here. Chopped onions, chopped garlic, chopped leeks, chopped celery, tomato paste, red wine, olive oil, herbs of your choice. Here I've got some lovely rosemary, thyme, a little bit of parsley and a little bit of basil. And here we've got some really nice lamb, which is kind of hand chopped. Okay, I love that for my bolognese. So we've got a good about 60 ml of olive oil in here, into which we're going to start off by adding a couple of bay leaves. Okay, this is a very fairly simple sauce. It's got no whims and fancies. Don't go too fancy on this, because this is actually a nice, beautiful rustic sauce. And you know what? Let's keep it that way. So before we actually fry our mirepoix, what I actually like to do first is I like to brown my mince really well first, okay? So we're going to be actually browning our meat now, along with a little bit of salt in this, in olive oil and bay leaves. So the whole flavor starts right from here, because the lamb is going to render its fat along with the olive oil into the pan. And generally, you know, you want your meat to be sealed, all the juices to be seared, okay? So that's what we are doing. We are literally searing the meat so it retains all its juices, and it also gives a very nice color to our bolognese ragu. So we're going to make sure that this gets a nice evenly brown color before we take it out and start sweating our other vegetables in this amazing flavor profile. So you can see the meat is getting a nice brown color. I don't want to like overcook it here right now. I'm going to just take this out. And remember, we are going to be again cooking this back in here with our tomatoes, with our red wine, with our mirepoix vegetables. This is going to be a spectacular affair. Great. Next, I've got about 2 medium-sized onions. Along with that, I've got about 2 tablespoons of celery. We've got about 2 tablespoons of carrots. And we have some leeks here too. Okay, so almost like equal parts. So I've got 2 to 3 medium-sized onions and 2 tablespoons each of leeks, celery and carrots. Okay, safe. So we're going to give this a nice sweat, okay? It's very important. This is called the mirepoix. It's also called the sofrito in many languages as well, okay? So, beautiful. So we're going to give this a nice stir till they are nice and soft, okay? So you have to make sure that the vegetables start actually sweating inside, okay? So they start releasing their moisture, they leach their flavors, and at the same time they are creating a fantastic base for your bolognese, okay? This is literally like one of the mother sauces for Italy. Now I've got about, I would say, 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic here. So we've got a nice thing going on here. I think it's time to drop the lamb in here. Along with some chili flakes. I would do a little more salt. Beautiful. Nice. Give this a really nice stir because you got to make sure that all your vegetables and your garlic is really mixed really well with your meat, okay? Because this is the real foundation of your sauce. Next, we're going to be deglazing with a cup, about 200 ml of a nice red wine. Beautiful. So I'm going to let this reduce a little bit, okay? You got to make sure when you cook with alcohol, you have to really cook it out, okay? So that all the alcohol goes away and just the flavorings are left. So we've almost deglazed the pan, we've reduced it. Now the red wine is getting a fabulous treatment with all your other things into the sauce. Look at that, how gorgeous this is. Into this I'm going to be adding a few basil leaves here. I've got some gorgeous rosemary. Now since it's lamb, I like to use a little bit of rosemary and thyme, okay? So I'm just going to be putting a few needles of rosemary. I would say about literally not more than a teaspoon, okay? Fantastic. You have to make sure that when you're cooking with herbs, you have to be a little cautious, okay? Otherwise they try to overpower your taste. So I've just got a few, like half a teaspoon of fresh thyme leaves going in here. Beautiful. Give this a little mix. Now you can see you got a very nice, beautiful color. Yeah, all your vegetables are really mixed. The herbs are going in. The wine is almost dancing with everything inside. And wow, let's check this out. After this, I've got about 250 to 300 grams of chopped tomatoes, which I'm adding in here. Fantastic. Give this a little lovely mix. Nice. And you can see that it is a real beginning of a classic already. Beautiful. So I'm going to let this simmer for about 45 to 50 minutes slowly and surely and beautifully while I actually start rolling the lasagna dough and blanch the lasagna. We've got to do our lasagna sheets here, okay? I've got my matalayo or my rolling pin here. So this is easy when you have a machine, but when you're doing lasagna, I think for beginners it's always good to actually learn how to do the pasta with a rolling pin. So the idea is to make it into a kind of a rectangular shape. That's what we want. So we're going to go up and down first, make it straight, and then we move it on the side. So the idea is to roll it about almost 1 centimeter, okay, in thickness, which is not really thick, but not very thin as well. Beautiful. Here we go. Here we go. Well, yo. The first sheet ready. We're going to be trimming it now and bring it to our size. Sizes will change according to the size of your baking dish in which you want to do it. So the sizes changes as per you. So we're just going to be cutting this from here. So obviously those are going to be used one more time again, okay? And then we so we have our first sheet ready. I'm just going to go a little more now. So literally, I think we are quite ready now. And the next thing is, nice. So next, we add a little bit of flour here, and we put this. So these are relatively quite large lasagna sheets, okay? You can get them into smaller sizes, you can get squares, it's all up to you guys, okay? Lovely. So this is the first setup I've always had whenever I'm cooking pasta. Now, usually when I make spaghetti or penne or any other kind of pasta, I don't actually shock it in iced water. But with lasagna and with manicotti or cannelloni, whenever we're doing sheets of pasta, we always do that. So now boiling salted water, I'm going to drop these sheets inside, and these will take about literally not more than 2 to 3 minutes, because remember, we are also going to be baking these in the oven, okay? So I'm just going to drop in another sheet here, and you can see these are going to be cooking pretty quick. So just without trying to do too much damage to them, just make sure they are like separate, and we're going to give this, simmer it for about a minute or two, literally 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to take this off and cool it down right here. So this is almost done. I'm going to be taking this out right here, and then literally dropping it in just like that. Moving on to my next sheet. Beautiful. So literally these lovely handkerchiefs of pasta or lasagna sheets in this case. Beautiful. So we have our lovely, oh look at that baby, a lamb bolognese, which is ready. It's nice because remember, for the lasagna you want a nice loose sauce, okay, so that you can really spread it. And normally when they say is that you need 1 part of meat to 3 parts of tomato, this is exactly what we have now. Nice and rich and lovely. So now first things, we just add a little bit at the bottom, and then we add a little bit of parsley here. So we have our first sheet of lasagna ready, to which we're going to be adding a little bit of parmigiano. We're going to be adding a little bit of mozzarella to this. Beautiful. Going to be adding a little bit of parsley. Beautiful. Next, a little bit of the ragu right here. So we have the ragu, we have the cheese. You know, there are really nice, good variations of lasagna which you can find. Okay, this is a fantastic recipe which you must try at home. And then we have our next sheet of pasta here. Another beautiful sheet of pasta here. Nice. And then we have some mozzarella, we have a little bit of parmigiano, we have a little bit of lovely chopped parsley here. We're going to be adding a little bit of melted butter. Beautiful. Next on top, our final sheet, okay. Now the idea is that I like to leave my sheets up here just like this, because after these bake, these get almost like caramelized and literally they get well done. And this is actually called the ears of the lasagna, the orecchie of the lasagna, okay. So literally I'm going to be leaving this just like this, okay. Beautiful. Our ragu bolognese on the top. Some parmesan and some mozzarella. And then we're going to give this just a little trim. Beautiful. So we have our lasagna going into our preheated oven. I've got a little bit of bolognese here. My oven is already preheating to a good 180 to 190 degrees. Now we're going to be cooking this lasagna for about 25 to 30 minutes until it's nice and crispy. Boom! Now look at this, okay. You've heard of the ears of the lasagna, right? Now these are really big ears. So that was one of the ideas where we actually didn't crimp or put the sides inside. We left the sides like overlapping because we knew that this pasta is cooking into a beautiful crispy texture. It's absolutely mind-blowing. All I need to do now is brush a little bit of butter. So now, that's what I call a lasagna. Beautifully crispy, nicely torched out, almost like the whole leopard skin. And I think we should first ask my friend, what does he think about it? Now, hey, my friend. Hey, my man, would you like some lasagna? Lasagna is ready for you, senor. Enjoy.